You can have thousands of dollars worth of smart home tech, but without the proper organization, utilizing good naming conventions, scenes, and automations, you or your family is just going to end up frustrated when trying to use your smart home devices. Today we're talking about how to organize your smart home. We'll cover the basics around creating scenes, automations, naming conventions, and general organization tips and tricks that will actually make your smart home feel smart. Let's go. Yo, what's up guys? My name is Shane and this channel is all about helping you build an easy Apple home, smart home with new videos and live streams published every week. Welcome to the third video in our Apple Home 101 series. If you missed the first two videos where we covered setting up your network and understanding hubs and protocols, definitely check those out after this one. If you haven't yet, I'll put the links down in the description. Now, so far in this series, we've built a solid foundation for your smart home. Your network is optimized, your hubs are ready to go, and you understand the protocols that make everything work. Now, there's one more critical piece that we need to build on, and that is actually how you interact with and organize your smart home. This is, in my opinion, where the fun really begins. In this video, we'll cover adding new devices, how to organize your smart home in a way that actually makes sense, even as your smart home grows for years to come, setting up scenes that make controlling your smart home efficient and enjoyable, and also creating your first automations that make your home truly smart. If you're just starting out, you can implement these strategies from day one to avoid many of the headaches that I've gone through. And if you've already got a bunch of devices in your smart home, you're gonna learn some tips and best practices that I've learned over the years that will help you as your smart home continues to grow. So by the end of this video, you'll have all the foundational pieces to really understand and build a smart home that you'll enjoy. Now stick around because I'm gonna share 3 power tips at the end of this video, plus a sneak peek into how you can take your Apple Home setup to the next level with tools and techniques beyond the basics. I'll be diving deeper into all these advanced options in a bonus 4th video in this series. So make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already so you don't miss that. When it comes to organizing your smart home, the foundation starts with how you structure your rooms and zones in the Apple Home app. Apple gives you flexibility in how you define your rooms, but there are some best practices that I would consider. First, align your Apple Home rooms with the physical spaces that make sense to you and your family. This sounds kind of obvious, but I've seen this done all kinds of ways that could really make finding and controlling accessories difficult. Next, use zones to strategically group rooms together. Zones let you control multiple rooms with a single command. I have zones for upstairs, downstairs, and outside, all of which contain multiple rooms. This means I can say things like, hey, turn off all the lights downstairs instead of having to name each room or device. Or, hey, play music downstairs, and it'll play music on the speakers in all of the rooms downstairs in that zone. When adding devices to your rooms, Apple makes it pretty straightforward, and depending on when you're watching this, things may look a little different than what you see in this video, as Apple may change the look of the operating system or the Home app, but the process should remain the same. Simply tap the plus icon to add a new device, then scan the QR code of your smart home device or put in the numerical code. Now remember, if you set up a separate IoT network, as we discussed in the first video, switch your iPhone to that network before adding new devices, since those smart home devices will use whatever network your phone is connected to when pairing. Next, let's talk about naming your devices. This is crucial, I think, for a good smart home experience, especially if you're using Siri. I recommend using a consistent pattern. Room plus device name is what I often do, making the device name something that's intuitive in natural conversation. I don't do this for all my devices, but it's very helpful when you have devices that you may want to use the same name for in different rooms. For example, you may have a ceiling fan in multiple rooms, so I'd name them living room ceiling fan, guest room ceiling fan, etc. And here's a helpful tip you may not know. In the Apple Home app, when you start a device name with the room name, the app won't show the room name for the device if that device is placed in the same room. I hope that makes sense. But if something does get moved, you know, accidentally or for whatever reason to another room, it will show you that full name, including the room name. And that way you'll just know which device is which and where it belongs and stuff based on that name. HomePods are smart enough to control only devices in the same room when you give voice commands without specifying the room name. For example, if you're in the bedroom, you can say, hey, turn on the ceiling fan, and Apple Home will turn on only the ceiling fan in that room. Hey Siri, turn on the fan. Siri, turn off the lights. When you're using iPhone or Apple Watch or something like that, though, you will need to include the room name in your voice commands. So you would have to say something like, hey, turn on the bedroom ceiling fan. The Home app interface has several key organizational elements, and again, this could change with future software updates and stuff like that. But as it is right now at the time of this recording, the status section at the top groups accessories by category: climate, lights, security, etc. You can specify which devices show up here in this status section by going to the individual devices settings. Now below that, you can customize these sections however you prefer. I prefer keeping cameras at the top, followed by frequently used scenes, and then favorites and rooms. For each device, you can choose to include it in the home view, favorites, or both. If neither is selected, you'll need to navigate to the specific room to find that device. You can quickly access rooms by tapping the three dots in the top corner on an iPhone or using the sidebar on an iPad or Mac. You can also tap any room name from the Home tab to quickly jump to that room. Now it's worth noting that sensors are only displayed in the status sections along the top of the home or room views. Now beyond the Home app, I maintain a simple spreadsheet to track all my smart home devices. This includes device name and manufacturer, connection type and protocol, battery type, if applicable, which ecosystems it's connected to, and the HomeKit or Matter code. Now the HomeKit or Matter code is crucial if you ever need to reset the device in the future. You definitely don't want to lose those codes. So this all might seem like a little bit overkill, but when you have 100+ devices potentially connected to different ecosystems and stuff, all using different protocols, having this information kind of readily available is invaluable for troubleshooting. I'm not a spreadsheet guy. This is actually something that I only started doing recently, and I am still refining it, but I wish I would have done this from the beginning. It's just much easier to start this system early than to have to organize everything years later like I'm doing right now. But this also makes for a good way to plan upgrades or replacements. You could kind of create sort of a wish list here as well, add notes, whatever, to different devices when you change batteries, all that kind of stuff. So this can be really helpful, I think, for a number of reasons. Now that we have our smart home organized with proper room structure and naming conventions, let's talk about scenes and automations. So what is a scene? Simply put, a scene is a preset configuration of multiple devices that you can activate with a single tap or a voice command. You want to turn all the lights in the room blue and lower the blinds for movie night, or maybe you want to lock all the doors, close the garage, and arm the security system when it's time for bed. Scenes make this possible. To create a scene, tap the plus icon and select New Scene. Choose a suggested scene name or create a custom one. Give it a clear, descriptive name. This is especially important if you'll be using Siri to activate it. Select and configure each accessory for the scene. Here's a pro tip. Before creating your scene, you can set all your devices to the desired state for the scene in the Home app. And then when you add each accessory to the scene, it will automatically bring in those current settings, just saving you from having to adjust and test the scene as you build it. You can test your scene to make sure everything works as expected, and then add it to your home view for easy access if you want. While scenes are manually activated, automations take your smart home to the next level by happening automatically based on triggers. This is, in my opinion, what makes a home truly smart. Apple Home offers several automation trigger types. You have time-based automations. These are triggered at specific times or sunrise or sunset. turn on, the outdoor lights at sunset, or run your good morning scene at 6 a.m. on weekdays, for example. Location-based automations are triggered when you arrive or leave home. So turn on lights when you arrive home, or turn off everything when everyone leaves the house. Accessory-based automations are triggered when a device state changes. So when the door unlocks, turn on the hallway lights, or run your movie time scene when the TV turns on. Sensor-based automations similarly are triggered by environmental changes or sensors. So, turn on the humidifier when the humidity drops below 40%, for example, or turn on lights when motion is detected. Creating automations are pretty simple in the Home app once you understand how they work. So just tap the plus icon and then choose Add Automation. Choose a trigger like people arrive, add any conditions like at night, select the accessories or scenes to activate. Adjust any additional options like auto off timers. So now we have an automation that runs anytime someone arrives home, only at night, and turns on the front foyer light. Now here are a few automation best practices if you're new to this. 1, just start simple. Before creating anything too complex, use scenes with your automations for easier modifications later. So instead of an automation controlling individual accessories, you can have an automation just trigger certain scenes. And then just always be sure to consider like edge cases and how automations might affect, others in your house. Lights coming on when your spouse is asleep might not be a good thing. So just definitely think about that kind of stuff. Some of my favorite simple automations include outdoor lights that turn on or off, and shades, smart shades that open and close based on sunset and sunrise. An away mode automation that turns off certain devices when everyone leaves the house. And one of the first ones I set up was actually, I have a safety automation that turns off my wife's hair straightener just using a simple smart plug whenever she leaves home. Automations are really where it's at, and they can be simple or extremely advanced, which we'll cover a little bit more in future videos. Kudos if you stuck with me this far. We've now covered all the essential layers of a great smart home: your network infrastructure, your hubs and protocols, and the organization, scenes, and automations that just make everything work together seamlessly. Now before we wrap it up, I did promise to share my top 3 power user tips. These are little tricks that can take your smart home automations to the next level without getting too crazy or advanced. Tip number 1, use dummy switches. One of my favorite little tricks is using dummy switches. Now these are virtual switches that don't control any physical devices, but can be used to toggle states or conditions in your automations. For example, a guest mode switch, when activated, can prevent certain automations from running. That way you don't end up, sitting on the back porch in the dark with your guest, when your normal automations would otherwise run, turning off lights and stuff like that. So these are great for having guests over, being sick in bed all day, or working an unusual schedule. Again, remember, like I said earlier, think about those edge cases, and dummy switches is a great way to create automations that take into account those edge cases. You can create dummy switches using third-party apps or other ecosystems, which we will cover more in the next video. In a pinch, you can even use a physical smart plug as your dummy switch if you need to. Tip number 2, convert your automations to shortcuts when you're ready. In the Apple Home app, when creating an automation, if you scroll all the way down and choose Convert to Shortcut, you will have more options. So this lets you create more sophisticated logic than what's possible with just a standard Apple Home automation. You can add multiple conditions, check the current date, weather conditions, and much more with this. Now, once you've mastered the basics of automations in the Apple Home app, I definitely would explore this Convert to Shortcut feature to see what you can do with that. Tip number 3, use visual indicators to communicate system states. For example, I created automations that turn certain lights red when either of my outdoor gates are open, alerting everyone in the house not to let the dogs out. Lights also turn red when the security system is armed, providing a clear visual cue to everyone that's home not to open the door before disarming the alarm. You can even use colored lights to indicate when you're in a meeting or any other number of things. Now, in our bonus 4th video of this series, we're going to explore how to take your Apple Home setup even further with third-party HomeKit apps and complementary ecosystems like Home Assistant, Home Bridge, Homey, Scripted. We're gonna talk about all that. I'll show you my complete setup and discuss everything that I use to enhance my Apple Home experience. That said, I encourage you to start simple if you're new to all this. Apple Home can do so much on its own. You may never need any of those advanced options, but if you're interested or want to just see what's possible for when you are ready, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that video. Remember, the best smart home isn't about having the most devices. It's about creating a system that works reliably and actually improves your daily life. Choose the devices at first that will have the most impact in your day-to-day life. Take your time implementing what we've covered. Start with a solid foundation, add devices thoughtfully, and continuously refine your setup based on how you actually live your life. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'd also love to hear about your favorite scenes or automations down there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.